on video is good, I take it. So let's get rolling. Good morning, guys. This is Simon with, wow, with a difficult time with the voice. One second. One sec. Let's see if that works. Or this is going to be pain. Wow. Just one sec. I've got something caught in that throat. Hold on. Let's see if that helps. Okay. Try this one more time. Just a quick disclaimer, past performance is not indicative of future results. This is for educational purposes only. I'm obviously struggling with my voice, so I'm going to be very succinct today. Trading derivatives has substantial risk. Please have a risk trade management plan and really, wow, I'm so sorry. Have a process that you can follow over and over again that will lead you back to the middle of the road if you go off into a ditch. Have a risk management plan. Have a pretty good understanding of what your markets look like, where you make money, when they look like where you don't make money, and understand the difference between a balanced day and a trending day or out of balance day. I'm so sorry. Hold on. Wow. Okay, I think I got this under control. So that's the disclaimer. You're welcome to read it in detail. So just really quickly, yesterday in the notes, at the end of the day, they were pretty brief on the Slack channel. I'm going to pull them up because exactly what I thought would happen is exactly what has happened, which was I posted. So I said, really, so I put, we have completely repaired almost everything up here. All that's left to test is the high, I believe, and that is just a local trade location. Let's say, so I said, really only one zone, and it held all day today. Perfect balance. We are close to a break. Let's see which way it goes. And then I put, so quick note on tonight's chart. Value area low, value area high are all that matter to me on a day like today. The value area is super concentrated. If you want one more location, 29.1450 to 29.15 are the points of control. I'm excited to see us clear out of this. Clear out here either way. Hold on a second. ES levels. Guys, this is not going to work. Hold on a second. I do not know what's wrong, but I'm having a very hard time speaking. So hold on a second. I'm going to mute out for a second. Wow. I'm truly sorry. I know this is very painful to listen to, so I'm sorry. More importantly, I said, ES levels for tonight and tomorrow, simply put, there's not much in the way of the market going big in either direction. No significant untested areas from a profile standpoint within 20 points down, and I now consider everything that needed to be tested up top completed over the last few days. So mark plus 20 or minus 20 as extremes and use the top and bottom of value areas as, that should say, guides, and then plug in the price action, okay? What you end up looking at is, and of course the join me is stopped, we'll restart it. Let's see where I've got the join me going. Okay. One sec here, we will get that fixed. Join me. Okay. And so now I can get to join me so we can hijack the picture off the other computer. I bet this has stopped working too. Let's get this one going again. They both stopped working. Okay, we'll just plug them both back in. You know, I went to my house last night to just kind of measure how the contractors are or are not doing, and I think it really jacked up my lungs. So that kind of sucks. There's a ton of dust floating around that place. Okay. So we're above value area high, right? So that's all I care about today. As long as I hold above this value area high and Wednesday's high, but particularly value area high, my assumption is we're going to push out and continue to trend up, right? So we're gapping up. If we look at the overnight price action, so I'm going to minimize this for a second. So if you'll look from up here, what the market did, okay, if you look from a couple days ago, let me see if I can clarify this. Wow, excuse me. When we were over here, right, remember when we were up down in this area? So I'm going to move the picture back. So you understand what we're dealing with and why we're gapping away. Wow, guys, I'm truly sorry. Let's see if I can fix this here. There we go. So when we were looking at this picture, see all these areas on top? All those create barriers. They're resistance points. There are various volume points of control and TPO points of control and anomalies that haven't been cleaned up. The market needs to clean those areas up on top, okay? It did that over the next couple of days. As you scroll forward, you can see that we got very technical in that area. See how we kept popping to each little level? Well, now we've cleared. The old high is up here at 22.50, right? That translates into, let's go back over here. There we go. So now look at, that's where the old value area high is, value area low from last night, right? Let me make sure that's correct and I haven't made that up. That is correct, okay? So if you look overnight, we closed above. Early in Asia, we opened up above. We came back to test the volume points of control and the TPO points of control. That's what this is right in here. Second time we closed back above. One more backside test just after London Open, right? And then the third time did the trick and they ran it, right? Same thing, much the same picture on NQ. Okay, so that's a big open drive higher. So a couple of things that come straight to mind. Number one, I accept the possibility that I may have missed that move, right? So what are my choices off the open? Wow. Let me do this slowly. What are my choices off the open? I can try to tag this right here, this bar, and hope that we don't close underneath. I can shoot for a test of the VWAP and see if I can grab that, or the backside test of the old high, which is approximately 2250 or 2275. I don't remember which it is, but it's about right here. Those are my choices, right? We're already up pretty good, 13 points off the open. Let me sip a little bit more water, see if it helps. And everyone who was short will have to cover right off the open, most likely, is what happens. And people want to buy the dips because no one wants to miss a move at new all-time highs. Okay, so let's pause. Let's pause there for a second and think this through because this is really important. Number one, when I go back and look at my trend day ups, right? What are the characteristics that make me money? So there's no established resistance levels up here. There are support levels underneath, right? But what makes me money on trend day up, and what do those patterns look like is really what we should be concerned about in terms of being able to make money. So when we look pre-market, this is our biggest delta right at the breakout, that 1845, right? My assumption would be that if I can get back to this bar right here, right, which is, again, 23 to 21, if I can tag this with a 2-point stop, and I need to make an adjustment. The way I'd really look at this is from here, the top of this bar, plus 2 ticks, because I know it's going to get front run. So it's 23.50, but I also need to make an adjustment for the for a test into VWAP, right? I really don't want it underneath VWAP. So if I'm going to take this trade in here, this is the general area. Now, if you want to do it with a 2-point stop, just be aware that it could come in. Wow, this is really frustrating. I'm so sorry. I do not know what the problem is. Hold on. See if I can relax my throat long enough to get through this talk, and then I'll go get my allergy medication because I'm having some kind of allergic reaction. My throat is swollen on me a little bit. So, okay. I want to grab a test back into this area. But if I try to do this with a 2-point stop, it's very likely that I can get tagged right to the tick, right? So what I'd suggest is you do half in the front, half in the back, right? And 1 point underneath the whatever VWAP is at the time. That'll save you from the push in. No one wants to take a stop right out of the gate, and it's really hard to guess which way it's going to go. The other way to do it is to wait till you get your first green bar out of that area, right? And this is a 6-range bar that we're looking at. Give me a second, guys. I'm going to run over the bathroom real quick, try to clear my throat, and I'll be right back. Give me 1 second. I apologize. Okay, let's give this another shot, see if it works. Okay, so if I'm going to take this trade, what I don't want to do is I don't want to take a large loss in here, and I don't want to take a quick loss, right? The easiest way is to wait for the first green bar to pop in here, hope that holds, take 1 shot or 2 shots, depending on what you can do, importantly, and continue trading through the rest of the day. Whatever was in my throat, I think I got it cleared. And continue trading through the rest of the day. Or let the first hour burn. Look for the biggest delta to print. So let's go back to the last trend day up really quick. I need a date, so let me look really fast here. Looks like our last trend day up was here. This is perfect. We can go look at 829. Let's go to this chart over here. Erase all lines. And let's go to 829. There it is. 829. Okay. There's the open on 829. It was a little bit different, but you can see once we got underway, we opened immediately. Look at the characteristic of this from an order flow, which is all I care about, right? The only thing different was that there was resistance up above, but look at how this goes order-wise, right? So first of all, here's the open. Right here. That appears to be your biggest delta on the backside right here. Right? There's your backside test right out of the gate. Right? So we opened up. We actually closed above it. Right? We had the point of control open above it. Within the first 30 minutes, we backside test it. Right? And once it's backside tested, right? See how you just wanted your stop 2 ticks behind here? And you survive the trade. Now this gets replaced by this guy right here. This tells you, A, if you don't get underneath, there's no short. But more importantly, if it closes above, you probably get continuation. That's the biggest delta off a break, followed by 37.59, followed by 35.95. Additionally, this whole area now effectively becomes one big support block right through there, right? And you're not short unless you get underneath it. That's really cool. That's not frustrating. That's like, hey, I've got an easy way to figure out, right? If you go back and look to the right, watch. Well, we never come back and test that. So there's that, right? So then what does it look like when it finally rolls down? So first of all, notice that we pretty much push straight up until London close, 10:30 in the morning. And if you wanted to short, you don't even get a hint of weakness until after 12 o'clock in the afternoon. That's Central Time, right? So that's a really good roadmap for what we probably expect. Secondly, see how we come in with even a larger delta over here to the left? Right there? Okay. Unless you get underneath this guy, that's your new bogey if you want to short, right? That's what you got to get underneath. And then really these two are so big, you almost have to want to include them as one, with the backstop being behind that 44.75. Again, when they stack up on top of each other, they both count, right? And you'll see in the afternoon, right, we come in right in onto that delta, right? And even in Asia, we never come back and test it. We came back into here, and you just got to increase that to a 3-point stop in that area. We roll back in. So, yes, there was a roll down from 29.16 to almost 29.11, right? And there was 5 points there. For me, the easier trade when you look at that roll down was to simply wait till it tested in. Again, you got the biggest negative. That was the biggest negative delta at the bottom. As soon as you closed above, they backside tested them. And then they pushed all the way back up. And there was nothing on top, particularly when compared to the bottom, to what it looked like. So you have one or two choices. Hope for a quick backside test. Simply buy the open and pray that it goes. I don't like that method, but it works on markets like this when you just are going straight up. And you don't want to short until you get underneath that biggest delta. Why? Yes, you could have pulled it off the top and gotten cute and got 1 or 2 points, but why stress it? I mean, damn, that's hard. I just want to come back and test this biggest delta, which also tells me if I don't catch it early in the day, my best long might be over here. So it might be after 12 o'clock in the afternoon, right? So sit down and go, do I have a trade plan? Do I have a trade plan to handle an open drive higher? What is that written trade plan? My trade plan does not include buying the first print, right? I suck at it. I'm about 50-50, and it just doesn't work out long term. Occasionally, I hit a huge home run. Often, I end up getting stopped and then watching it go. So for me this morning, you have a good roadmap in 829, right? And if I come over here, okay, if I come over here, and I look pre-market, and key is the same model, right? What am I looking for? I'm going to peruse this, and I'm going to see a 1248. We just opened at 1231. 10. This guy is still my key right here. All right, so let's go back to my regular chart. There we go. So, there we are. So let's clean this up. Hold on a second. So, looks like this dude right here, or lady, or man, or however you like to reference it. That's your big guy. You don't get underneath him. And now he lines up with VWAP anyways. If you get lucky enough to push back into this guy, right? Entry, exit, stop, 2 ticks underneath. Hope it works, right? And so that bar, here, I'll put a line on it. Importantly, if you close underneath them, you have a good chance of coming back and testing value area high, right? You notice immediately we just replaced it with a 2548 and a 3300. This bar tends to hold, the biggest delta pre-market tends to hold on first test. Usually, not always, right? So my guess is we're just going to have open drive higher and they're not going to let it go because everybody, I can't tell you how many bearish people I've spoken to in the last 2 weeks. There's a lot of shorts that have built up over the last couple of weeks. My guess is they're going to do some bone crushing of people. This morning, I am going to look at NQ really quick. Oh, the other clue, just from a simple standpoint, right? 5-minute bars. Do we get above or below the first 5-minute bar, right? Can we actually print below any bar, right? Can we actually get a close below a prior 5-minute bar? Are there any counter rotations down? Things like that. I don't make my money on trend day up. I know a lot of people try to, and if I can catch them, I'm happy to do it. But in the past, I've actually lost more money than made money on trend days up because I used to try to fight them. There's no reason to be shorting this. If you want to be a superhero, be my guest. 20 up on this would put us at one of my domes. Is another 6 points away, so that would put us at approximately 29.36. Puts us at 20 points up, right? You do want to watch the biggest delta. I won't be shorting certainly the first half hour, and I won't even consider shorting, quite frankly, until afternoon today. And that's assuming that I can actually work. Now, what changes my opinion on that, right? Whenever I say I'm not going to short, okay, if we get back below value area low, the picture has changed, and I'll adjust my strategy, right? I'll then look for the backside test of my best delta setups, my best pattern setups. But this is not a market, and this is not a situation where I want to be short, right? There's no edge. We're at new all-time highs, and you have to be in love with that prospect. The real opportunity came yesterday, right? And you could have positioned last night. I had a conversation with Daniel and with Peter last night, and everyone had the same conclusion. Super tight balance going into the day, and that we were ready to explode energy-wise, right? So how do you do that? There's only 2 strategies I know that work. Buy the opening print, right? Or hope that it pulls back and tests a big pre-market delta, or wait for the rotation down. And even in the afternoon, if we're hanging way up there, I'd rather buy the backside test of whatever biggest delta is hanging out, right? Observe the counter rotations, and I just kind of shrug my shoulders on days like today and go, well, okay, what can you do? They ran away with it. So all you have to have, I want to be clear, if you think it's going to go up 30 points today and you have a way of getting in, be my guest. When we're already up 14 points, I need some kind of cycle to come through. Maybe the president will tweet something to that accord. Now, there's also, every once in a while, we have an event that actually affects the market pretty dramatically, okay? So Ron posted this. I read the article and made a reference to it, okay? The S&P 500 is doing a rebalancing of the sector, okay, tomorrow. $2.7 trillion rebalancing. That's huge. It's enormous, okay? If you trade the S&P 500, right, be ready for some weird moves, because what that is forcing is every what do they call those blind just buy the portfolio ETFs and mutual funds, where they have whatever's in the S&P 500, right? And there's trillions of dollars in those funds. They have to sell all those stocks and then buy whatever they're replacing it with. I know Google's being taken out. If I have it correct, I might not. Read the article. All you have to do is Google rebalancing S&P 500. It'll come right up, okay? It's a huge, huge change. For my day traders in the room, the guys I coach, right? It presents both an opportunity, but also a challenge because we might see some weird PA where I would stay the heck away from tomorrow because I'd stay away from the first hour and I'd stay away from the last hour. So why? So I don't get some schmo at a hedge fund or a big mutual fund go, oh, I've got to sell X millions of dollars right now and buy X millions of dollars, and I don't get caught in sweeps because these guys aren't trading technical patterns. They're just like, get me out, get me in. Okay, is it done? Yeah, let's move along. That's all they care about. They're not technical trading. Their requirement by their bylaws are to be fully invested in whatever the S&P 500 is composed of and be completely out of whatever the S&P 500 isn't composed of. That's a big rotation, right? Just be prepared. That could cause some nasty swings. That may be what's driving this morning. They may be just front running the change, right? I don't know. I don't even care, right? All I know is that is a critical concern for me. I'm about to be short copper. Copper just rolled hard. I didn't get a setup on it. Hold on a second here. What is my close? I missed it actually about 7 minutes ago. So I'll work for a backside test towards 27.10. Hold on 1 second here. Really? So it's moving pretty quickly, but I'm actually short copper at 2.7190. I need to adjust my stop if you'll give me just a second. I don't want it closing above 2.7210, which is where we're at right this second, right? Hold on a second here. I'm putting the stop at 2.7250. Okay, I really don't want it closing above on a 4-range bar above 2.7210. If it does, I will have to cover it and reshort it. Okay, but the trade is in and I'm already short. We'll go from there, and I'm full size on that. In the meantime, let's jump over and see what the market's doing. Okay, here's ES. Let's pull over to NQ. Again, I expect pretty fast movements due to what's going on with the rotation here. It looks like my guess is they're already being forced to counter that rotation in the market. So just be aware of that. I'm not even going to worry about NQ this morning. I'll just let it do what it's going to do, and I'll look at it after the first 30 minutes. It's just too fast. Let's just go lay out what the territory looks like on ES, right? Out. Okay, we have the biggest pre-market delta back over here. Here's our open at 8:30. This is our biggest delta off the pretty much second bar off the open, right? A close above that delta. So remember, normal process. Close above, backside test, entry, half, half, right? So the bar that closes above, if this point of control prints above, half at the close, half on the backside test, then you're stopped 2 ticks behind this bar, right? Obviously, I'm not going to take that trade, but that is a valid trade setup, okay? I want to be clear. That is a valid trade setup, right? I'm just going to let the first half hour go because, I mean, really, it's pretty crazy. That's all I got to say. It's pretty damn crazy the way they're moving the market like that. I knew that breakout was coming and I could not get a handle on it. I tried to grab it in Asia. I couldn't get a handle on it. So I'll wait patiently and see what they set up after the first half hour. I'm concerned about this rotation really swinging the market one way or the other. And the easiest way for me to handle that is just wait till they're done. Okay. So anyways, that's my 2 cents. Does anyone have any questions this morning? I mean, it's up. There's nothing else to say, right? You're just looking for a handle on it. This bar now becomes important. You can draw a line on it. If you impulse move underneath, that will become resistance. But even if we pushed underneath, what I'd really look for is a close above, backside test, push up into that 10 or 20 points up. However, they're going to end up handling that particular trade, right? So, and then I'll see where the copper ends up going. I am short. My stop's already in place. I'm willing to take that trade multiple times. Everyone already knows it from there. And then my target below on copper, I need to see the chart really quick. Actually, my target is substantially lower. If the extended target down would be 2.6975 if it can hold underneath and roll lower. Okay, so it has a little bit of a job to get that done. And actually, I made a mistake here. Where I needed it was below 2.730. So 2.730 is actually yesterday's value area low. It has to hold underneath 2.730. I don't want to see it close back above that point, but as long as it holds underneath 2.730, it's in good shape. That's all I can say about that. So it looks like it's coming up for a backside test of that right now. Let me flip back over to the chart. That's exactly where it's coming back up for a test of as we speak. And I will probably add, that's over my normal limit, but I'll probably add at 2.730 and hope that it doesn't tag 2.750. I'm willing to take that trade twice because the target down is enormous on the P&L. Here, I'll show you the chart of what I'm looking at. Okay, that's a close underneath. That's an impulse move underneath value area low. Oh, you can't see that. Hold on a second. That's an impulse move underneath value area low. Coming up for a backside test. Yes, it could trap back in, certainly a possibility. But my target down is all the way down here. And if I get that target, right, the reason I'm willing to take this trade twice, I'm short just underneath here. Let's call it right here. If I get that target, okay, that's $562, that target down, $562 a contract, right? So it requires that it holds underneath 2.730. I probably have to reload that trade more than once to get that to work. Copper's definitely in a downtrend. There's no question about it. It's in a bear market. On the other hand, wouldn't be the first time I've gotten stopped on that first time. This is really the first time in the U.S. session underneath value area low, and sometimes it takes 2 taps to make it go. But either way, I will take both taps underneath, and I will press the daylights out of that trade if I get it. The chart, if you look at the chart over here, there's just a long way to go. So it has all these single prints, but that value area right there, that's what I'm targeting to the downside. Okay, and if it busts that, you have this point of control that needs to be tested. Oops, I lost my chart. Hold on a second here. There we go. You have this chart, that value area that needs to be tested, and then you have a value area high all the way down here at 2.680. Again, has to get to all of that, right? So anyways, I don't want to distract everyone with that. Obviously, the goal is to trade ES primarily, but I'm going to let the first half hour burn and let someone else be the genius behind setting up the trade. So I'll keep y'all updated on that chart, on that trade. And in the meantime, we'll keep our eye on ES, and I'll keep an eye on NQ as a sideshow. So yesterday I pulled a total of almost 30 points out of NQ, right? I'm willing to wait for a rotation down to get paid on that, right? So it's my 2 cents there. And you can see we're just working. My guess is as soon as we close above, we'll get another leg up on this. That'd be my guess. Delta strong. We're still above VWAP. Key here is this pre-market now pitch you underneath VWAP. You really don't want to see that on a day that's supposed to be trending, right? You don't want to see that. So keep that in mind. And then underneath it, if you are a mega aggressive short, sure, be my guest. That's valid resistance once we close underneath it with a point of control underneath. I'm not going to short that gap. I'm trying to spot anything in NQ that's workable for me. I see nothing. So remember, the other thing you want to keep your eye on, right, is the amount of where we are relative to the 20-point stretch is very important, right? So keep your eye on it. Once we get up 20, even on the best trend days up, it's very difficult. It's another 7 points from where we're trading right now. All right, looks like I'm going to get tagged out on this copper the first time. That's okay. I will take it the second time. I'll tell you as soon as I get tagged. Yeah, it looks like it's coming right now. Again, I will reload on a close back below that value area low. There's the stop. Done. And that's okay. I'm willing to take that stop. I goofed it. I didn't grab it as soon as it was underneath. My assumption was the backside test would fail. I now know I need to get it underneath. And I'm willing to take the second tap underneath. Two spot 7240. So we'll see if it does it. Trap back into a value area low, can swing it back the other way. And that's what it's doing right now. The point of control is not closed back in, by the way. So keep that in mind. The most likely result is that ES just grinds up right after we balance. after 9 a.m., the most likely result is just we grind slowly up. Right? We've expanded the energy. We've had a big roll up. Now let it grind. So that would cost me, by the way, that stop cost me $125 per contract. Actually, a little bit less, $112 per contract, which is totally fine. My RR has been about $400 to $500 per contract on the wins, right? $100 losses are acceptable on that product for me. Trying to see what I'm coming up against here. You've got this big delta sitting right on top. You're going to have to clear them, or they're probably going to come back in and test either this guy, right? So it's unclear. This guy's a potential right here, which would make sense on VWAP, right? Or this pre-market delta back over here underneath. This becomes suspect once you're underneath VWAP. You generally don't want to see it underneath like that, right? And we will go from there. See what they set up. And remember, the most important thing, guys, whatever you're doing, stay on process. Half process pays us nicely almost 70% of the time, right? Stops us 30% of the time. And we know when it's like this later in the day, let the setups come. Your biggest delta on NQ, by the way, if you're hunting for an entry, there is a 718 that we were pushing into from overnight. We're right in it. You don't want to see it close underneath. This is the first close above. This is the backside test. If you're looking for a long on NQ, this is where you're looking to push out on NQ, quite frankly. Is this area, and you want it above 75, 72. So you don't want a point of control on NQ. I'll share the screen. You really don't want a point of control underneath this point on NQ. You just don't. That first push above that big delta should have set it up to run for the day, right? So 6 minutes until the top of the hour. We'll see where they go with it. Again, that whole rebalancing thing can make this day crazy. And you see they're trying to respond out of that. See how they push back? Trying to respond, you want it above and then push in for the rest of the day, right? To push out of there. And it can. Expect algos at the top of the hour. I'm shorting copper at 2.7225, stopping 2.7245. Very tight stop on that. 4 ticks. If you're not comfortable getting tagged quickly, skip the trade. See how the support held into that 700 for a counter rotation. Now, if it holds, you can expect to push back out towards the highs if it holds. And you're still working this 4,000 delta back over here. All right, we still got to clear above that on ES. A nice bar right there. That was a nice entry on. Did anyone take the NQ entry, guys? I know it was quick. Well, Randy, so remember on the rebalancing, right? Volatility to one guy is not volatility to another. If the market swings down all of a sudden 20 points, right? Or runs your stop because the volatility is just slightly higher than normal because we're trading with such tight stops, well, then it ruins your day, right? That's the whole point. Does he expect it to go plus 100 or plus 200 or plus 300 one way or the other? Probably not. My concerns from a day trading perspective, does that start to affect me from a see how we're getting underneath that 4,000 delta and having a hard time getting back above, right? We now got the point of control underneath. They've tried above. The backside of that is if you can close above, you should push over here, right? So if the volatility just ups a nick enough to stop me on my 2-point stops, right? Then it ruins my trading day as a day trader versus looking at that guy's like, okay, I'm a portfolio manager. So the market went down 30 points. What do I care? Or it went up 200 points. What do I care? Net, it was a 1% change in my portfolio, maybe 0.5%. But to a day trader, right, you're like, man, I just got whipped all over the place. I don't know how I lost so much money, right? So keep in mind, his perspective is not our perspective in terms of the moves, right? That rotation on NQ was perfect, guys. I don't know if anyone caught it, but it was beautiful. Look at the move here. Right into the biggest delta, right up. And that's exactly what I expect to happen on ES on that biggest delta on top. If we can get on top, half, and go, right? That would be worth the stop to me. That was a 20-point rotation up on that NQ move from the 72 to 84, or 12 from the top, or from that first green bar. It was 70 to 84, 14 points. It's a good trade. But Randy, your point is valid. I wouldn't expect the volatility to increase dramatically either. And NQ was ready for a breakout anyways. It wasn't like it was a shock. Guys, it looks like I'm going to get tagged on that copper again. And if I do get stopped, that's 2 stops within an hour, and that puts me on pause for an hour on copper if I get stopped, and I'm about to get stopped. I'm within a tick. It's hard to believe they're not going to stop me, but it happens sometimes. Even on a tight stop, 2 stops back to back keeps me from going on tilt. Didn't get stopped. So, not yet. We'll see what they do. NQ new highs on the day. ES closes above that 46.95. What I will do here on this close above is half, stop. I'll have a 2.5 point risk on this bar. I need the point of control above this bar. Okay, so that's the top of that bar. Why is this doing this? That's the top of this bar. I need the point of control above. That would be above, right? So I'll enter on the close of that bar if it closes. The point of control will be above. Half at the close of that bar, which will be 31. Half back at 30. Stop 2 ticks below. Okay, and I did get stopped on that copper, so no trades for an hour there for me. Okay, I'm obviously just getting whipped at value area low. That's rare, so I'm long now. All right, I have the other half of that order sitting back at 30. Okay, and then my stop is right at 28. Huh. So I'm now long a full position, right? My average is 30 quarter. Okay, just over 30 and a quarter. My stop is 28. 2.25 point stop. Target 2 points up. Go from there. First target for scale, right? That should be continuation on that trade. And by the way, on a day like today, you can get a 10-point extension off that break, right? So keep that in mind. We're only up. We're up 15. Up 25 gives you a 10-point extension from where we are. Put us at 29.40, right? There's no reason why we don't have the ability to grab that 20 to 40. So shoot for, if you want an extension on that trade, 7 to 10 points up into London close would be the goal, right? Take your scale, but your risk is small in exchange for a trend day up entry, right? And if you don't like the trade, same story as always. If you want to wait for the rotation down or the dip, or whatever it is you like to trade, there's no sin in that. You can wait. Bill or anyone, does anyone have a reason why that trade is crazy? Does anyone have the opposite side of that trade? I guess not. Well, then we'll find out if it works or if I was crazy. That's the worst start to a day in copper I've had in a long time. We're at 7,600 on NQ. Expect that to be a place where people will look to fade just because people like to trade round numbers for whatever reason. As your biggest negative delta on top, by the way, on ES, be aware of that. That 25.90 has to be gotten above or this trade gets stopped. You really didn't want to see that, actually. If I get stopped on this ES trade, I'm taking a full break for an hour. That would be my worst start to a day in weeks if this trade stops. So I'm just going to take a pause. If that occurs, particularly the two stops on copper, almost. Well, I haven't had two stops back to back since I started trading that. There we go. Let's cruise on up. Not. Again, if you're uncomfortable in the trade for any reason, right, we're just grinding, right? If the 2 point stop would be devastating and you go something like, I knew I shouldn't buy at the high, you can flat the trade for almost no damage, right? To me, the risk is 2 points, right? I'll stop trading for an hour if I get stopped on the trade, but the risk is within my parameters, right? I have no choice on a trend day up. I'm not going to fade it. I don't have to buy it if I don't want to, right? But I think it's the right trade and it's certainly the right conditions to do this in, right? And you just have to decide, hey, in this circumstance, I'm not comfortable taking the loss, so I don't take the trade. That's okay, right? But the setup is appropriate. We closed just barely with a point of control above. This bar is a problem. That 25.90 is a problem. We need to get above it. But if we get above it, we should be able to squeeze those guys. And you have a potential for a 5 to 10 point trade there, right? So that's why I'm playing it, right? You cannot get the reward without any of the risk, right? But the risk, you should have a 2 to 1 RR on this trade. The only thing you have to ask is, am I comfortable taking risk at this location? And if you're, some guys are just like, hey, I need a dip to trade, I'm all right with the trade here. That being said, I would appreciate it if it would just take off. There's offer, obviously an offer at 30. And that includes taking too long, all the normal disclaimers. But most days when you look at a day like today, you don't see any kind of rampant roll back to the downside. And when you do, it usually means something has changed or there's a news-driven event. Someone's offering 30, 31. See how that round number just keeps getting traded on NQ? People are trying to sell that round number. If they bust them, we should go. There should be plenty of shorts in NQ. It's had bearish enough price action to get a nasty face ripper there. 4,300 contracts trading 29.31. Thank you. There we go. Boom. Look at that. Finally. So remember your scale. My first scale is 2 up, right? And I'm almost there at 32.50, right? Should have it. So my average is 30.38, right? So I'm trying to get my 2 to get my risk off. Okay. Obviously, coming within a tick or two of my trade, I don't want to let this trade go negative on me. I'd like to get my scale straight out. You need to decide how you're going to manage that trade for yourself. Okay. You don't want to generally take it when it comes within 2 ticks of your first scale and then let it turn to a loser on ES. That being said, we don't get underneath this 46.95, it should trend, right? That's a clear close above. So think about it. This was almost a close above. This has to be considered the second close above. You just don't want it trading underneath this guy now, right? It should grind up, right? That's what the expectation would be from this point. No fill at 50. If you took a quarter, you easily got filled. It traded through it. I did not get the 50. If you took the quarter, you got filled. I didn't get filled at the 50. I'm still on hold. Maybe right here I'll grab it. Filled. Scale out. Now you got to decide to move your stop to break even, right? True break even or net break even. You got to make a decision which one you want to take on that, right? I'm going to try and push this for 10 points or a short setup, one of the two. Okay, make sure you adjust your stops appropriately. This is a day when you go, hey, I could have had a 10 or 15 point extension, right? Where it keeps trucking. Keep that in mind. It may not do it today, but that's what the setup looks like, right? It gets above that biggest delta and just keeps going. We've all seen it. Nice job, James. Perfect execution, brother. Well done and well deserved. Again, my stops remaining the same on this below that 46.95. A backside test of that bar is normal. Okay. Let's say that again. The backside test of that bar is normal. You see a chart. Again, I have pretty much no risk on this trade if it stops me at this point, right? The normal backside test of that bar would be if you haven't gotten long, right? Again, the same process. This is just above, half, half, push, stop underneath. It's still a valid setup, right? And NQ is doing the 7,600 dance. You did print the biggest delta of the day, 940 right on top. That becomes resistance upstairs. Again, that was a pretty monster move on NQ. So I was trying to hook that up last night and I couldn't get it to go in Asia. That's a disappointing trend day up. Let's go, guys. Let's just make it easy on us and rip it. Nice job, James. You got your scale. You moved your risk up. You're good. Obviously, I'm within a point of getting my stop tagged, but it's all right. It'll end up being just a flat trade that I took with appropriate risk, right? And that's why I said you got to elect which one you're good with on your trade. So there is a possibility this entire move was a rebalancing move. Keep that in mind. I doubt it, but it is possible. As weird as that would be. Bottom of the hour, IB high and low is set. Normally, you would expect a test of that IB high. On trend day up, you wouldn't actually expect to test the VWAP. Like if that bar closes at the high, we'll have delta divergence, a 1,000 delta above that bar right there. If that closes like that, let's set up a natural long. That's a 763 delta divergence, not quite. Like I said, that 4,000 bar rules the roost right now. Period. End of statement. So it either got to get above or below. Below, you probably find some sell pressure. That'd be the second. Really, you want to push below, but that would be the second. We haven't had a point. We've had one bar with a point of control underneath. Second bar with a point of control underneath changes the picture there. Bill, any color? And we've gone into straight up chop. Everywhere. That 940 delta on NQ, and I'll show it to you, is very important now. Right? Very important. So they should push out of here. Bottom line, it should be able to grind higher, but they're making it just as difficult as they possibly can. Anyways, guys on YouTube, I appreciate y'all joining. I'm going to kill it. If you'd like to join us in the room on a regular basis or have a 5-day trial, send me an email to tradertough@gmail.com. I'll be happy to extend you an invitation. And I'm going to kill this and trade safe. Watch your capital. And if you like the video, please hit the like button. We'll talk later. Have a great day.